look better on this side? No.
Good evening and welcome. My name is Jennifer DeKay and I am the publisher of the Downey Patriot. On behalf of the Downey Patriot, the Downey Chamber of Commerce, and Talking Downey, we would like to welcome you to the 2022 Downey City Council Candidates Forum. With us tonight from District 2 is Dr. Anthony Felix, Art Montoya, and Hector Sosa. The seat is currently held by Donald LaPlante, who is finishing out the term for Sean Ashton. Joining us from District 4 are Joaquin Beltran, Juan Martinez, and Claudia Fumeta, who currently holds the seat and is running for re-election. The candidates have been asked to provide an opening statement where you will be hearing more about them from them. Michael.
Hello, my name is Michael Calvert. I'm the Executive Director of the Downey Chamber, and I also would like to welcome you here. Very excited about seeing so many people here. Also, so happy to see so many dignitaries in the audience, but because we're focusing on the candidates, we're not going to introduce you. So, try not to do that. I would like to introduce the moderators for our event. We have two stellar pillars of the community that are going to help us get to know more about the candidates. First person I'd like to introduce, Mario Guerra. He is a former he is a former two-time mayor of the city of Downey. He was elected to the Downey City Council in 2006 and was re-elected again in 2010. Today he serves as the civilian aide to the Secretary of the U.S. Army, is a chaplain for Downey Police Department, and is co-host of the podcast Talking Downey. He has lived in Downey for over 45 years. Our second moderator is Eric Pierce. Eric is the editor of the Downey Patriot newspaper, where he has worked as a journalist since 2002. He is a board member with Downey Los Amigos Kiwanis, the TLC Family Resource Center, and the Downey Symphony. He co-hosts Talking Downey with Mario Guerra. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you gentlemen being with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about the rules. Eric will detail that out, but I also want to let you know that though this event is held here on city property, it is actually an event of the Chamber, the Patriot, and Talking Downey. Just want to let you know that rules of decorum will apply. Any outbursts, any language that we feel is inappropriate, you'll be asked to leave. It is not subject to the Brown Act, so just so you're aware, that would give you away. I'd like now to introduce Eric Pierce, who will be telling you guys all of the rules.
Thank you, Michael. We don't have very many rules, but we do have a few. Number one, candidates are limited to 60 seconds per answer. We do have June Ledesma. She'll be holding up signs indicating the time lapse. We want to hold up the sign. 30 seconds. And then we have another, shows 10 seconds now. And then finally, when you see the red card, it means that your time is up. And we are on a limited time, so we do ask the candidates to please be as brief as possible. Moderators, me and Mario, we do have discretion to ask follow-up questions. Candidates are allowed one rebuttal per question, and candidates can only respond to statements by other candidates within the district. So in other words, we don't want candidates from other districts talking to each other because it kind of defeats the purpose. We want to hear from candidates within the district. At this point, Mario has a few words.
Great. Well, first of all, thank you. You do that like Vanna White. You do that very well, by the way. I like that. So, well, welcome to tonight's Candidates Forum. Listen, I'm a former mayor, so I don't skip introducing former mayors. So I know there's a couple former mayors here. Rick Rodriguez is back there. He's the only former mayor, so that was easy. Thank you for Downey's Finest for being in the house as always. So we're happy that we could shed some light on all the candidates running for our 2 council seats here in Downey. Our city has experienced a lot of turmoil the past 2 years, and we feel strongly that helping our residents make informed decisions is what tonight is all about. The more questions that we ask, the more we'll be able to see and hear more about each candidate. We also reserve the right, as Eric said, to ask follow-up questions and to inquire at a certain point about a yes or no position if there's any doubt in the answer that they gave. We hope you learned a lot tonight about our city's future. So I'm going to turn it back to Eric.
Thank you, Mauro. I'll be very brief in my comments. I want to thank the candidates for participating tonight. Whether we agree with the candidate or not, I do believe that every candidate here has Downey's best interests at heart, and I'm looking forward to learning more about them. At this point, we're going to allow the candidates to give a brief 60-second opening statement. And you are sharing microphones, so we do ask that you play nice. We'll go ahead and start on the left with Joaquin.
Thanks so much. Hi everyone, I'm Joaquin Beltran, I'm just Joaquin Beltran. I'm running to be your council member. And I'm running for the Downey dream. The American dream is the Downey dream. That's the reason my mom moved to Downey. To live here, to own a home here, to start a business here. That dream is getting harder. The Downey dream is getting harder as people lose jobs, as people lose homes, as the cost of living rises. And this Downey dream needs to be achieved by everyone who has aspirations here. I want to hear what your Downey dreams are. We're going to do an exercise after this to hear your Downey dreams, because that's what it's about.
Mr. Beltran,
Yes.
people in the back are having difficulty hearing you. I'm sorry.
You have to pull it closer.
Okay, sure. Is that better? Do I get a time or what? How's the time work? Okay. My name is Joaquin Beltran. Mi nombre es Joaquin Beltran. I'm running for the Downey dream. The Downey dream is the American dream. That's the reason my parents came to Downey. To achieve the Downey dream, to own a home here, to start a business here. It's getting harder for everyday people, and that's what we need to fight for. I'm here to help you fight for the Downey dream. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Claudia Frometa. I'm current council member for District 4, and I'm running for re-election because I'm passionate about our community. My husband and I have raised our 4 children in Downey. We've been here since the 1980s. And I care about our public safety. I care about infrastructure improvements, environmental sustainability. We have never seen the type of destabilization we are seeing at City Hall. And I care about Downey, and I care about bringing stability back. It is important that we make informed decisions. I have been in this community for the last 34 years. My children have attended public schools. I'm invested in this community. My husband and I have been involved through and through in a lot of community organizations, and we know the fabric of this community. I am counting on your vote for re-election this November. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Juan Martinez. I've lived here for 13 years. I consider myself a water advocate, an environmentalist, and a strong, fearless voice for civil rights. I'm here because I want to make sure that our city, as it progresses, that it provides a voice for communities that have gone without a voice. I'm talking about renters. I'm talking about the LGBTQ community here. I'm talking about addressing fiscal responsibility that has been mismanaged currently in our city council. I want to make sure that we not only bring the change that we all predict together, but that we incorporate the missing voices in our community. And I want to provide that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dr. Anthony Felix, and simply put, I'm running because I would like to improve the quality of life of every resident in Downey. You'll hear a little bit about us tonight, and you'll hear about our background, but let me summarize myself in a narrative. So I have a doctorate in public administration with a subject matter expertise in local government ethics, specifically between the relationship of the city manager and the city council. I currently manage $750 million of public funds, which are projected to surpass $800 million at some point this fiscal year. In addition to that, I am subject matter expert in housing and homeless services to help. That would be a skill set that the current council has a gap in, which would help lead the way in mitigating many of the issues that are related to the affordable housing crisis. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Art Montoya, and I'm running to be your candidate for District 2. I was born and raised here in Downey. Grew up playing Little League. I played right here at Apollo Park, DJA football and basketball. I graduated from Warren High School, then went on to get my bachelor's degree, my master's in business, and my law degree. I have over 10 years of leadership and management experience for the Walt Disney Company, and now I currently work as a policy advisor for SoCal Gas. But I'm running to ensure that we maintain our public safety, to support our police and firefighters, to maintain our city services so that our streets and alleys are clean and safe, to be an environmental champion, and lastly, to ensure that we promote economic growth and development in the city so that we bring good paying jobs here. And I look forward to answering the rest of these questions and you all getting to know me. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hector Sosa. My main priorities are public safety. I just came off being president of Gangs Out of Downey for the past 2 years. We do a lot of proactive work with our youth to sponsor them into positive activities, keep them out of trouble, and to keep gangs out of our city. I also want to make sure that Downey PD is sufficiently funded so they have all the resources they need to be able to protect our quality of life that we love here in the city of Downey. Also, I'm a financial services professional by trade. I want to make sure that the city is practicing fiscal responsibility and spending wisely, and that there's full transparency with all of us and all the moves that our city's making. Also, community outreach. My wife and I, of 24 years, both grew up here in the city of Downey. We both attended Warren High School. My 2 sons are going to Warren High School right now. I coached my sons and hundreds of our city's youth for over 15 years at West Downey Little League and DJA. So I can tell you, I have my ear to the ground, my finger on the pulse. I know what Downey's all about, know what District 2 is all about, and I want to bring stability back to this city. Thank you very much.
So, before we get to the next question, and that was great. Everybody applauded for their candidates and so forth. Can we ask there's no more applause on their answers so we can get more questions in, okay? I mean, that's very nice of you. You care about everybody. So, Mr. Calvert and so forth are passing out cards. There's Mr. Calvert from the Downey Chamber. He's passing out cards. If we have time at the end, we'll ask your questions. They're going to be screened, so don't ask, why is Mario so fat or something, okay? We're not going to do that. So we'll have fun with that, but we're not going to ask any questions, so they'll be screened. So we'll make sure that, again, just hold the applause until after our candidate. We're going to try to get a lot of questions in tonight, and we're going to ask candidates too, sometimes for yes or no answers, and we want to get them on the record for their position. So I'm going to start off with, and I'll tell you what, we started from left to right, we'll go right to left, and we'll switch every question where we start. So I want to ask first, and this is for everybody, but you all can answer that. So what makes you the most qualified candidate in your district? You guys gave a little bit of it in your introduction, but what makes you the most qualified in your district? We'll start with Mr. Sosa.
Okay, thank you, Mario. It's a good question. I feel I'm the best candidate here. I grew up in the city of Downey. I attended the schools here. As being in District 2, I've been in District 2 for 25 years now. Walking the district, my message is able to resonate with the residents because I have my ear to the ground, my finger on the pulse. I know what the District 2 is all about. And, nothing personal, but Dr. Felix has lived here for 4 years, and Art Montoya has lived in the district for a few months now. And so I know District 2. I've been working with families for a long time. I know what's important to them. Public safety is really important to them, and through my experience with Gangs Out of Downey, working closely with Downey PD, I know what we need to do address a public safety issue, which is a huge concern for a lot of our residents. And I can tell you that my message is really resonating with people because they know that I have a deep track record and I'm a truly vested individual in this community. Thank you.
Just to repeat, the question was, what makes me the best candidate for the job? Well,
In the district.
in the district.
Yeah.
I was the only one who was born and raised here in Downey, so I have a deep understanding from childhood perspective to an adult perspective. When my fiance and I chose to buy our home here, we could have bought our home anywhere else, but we chose to stay in Downey because of the values and the community. I'm the only candidate here who's got municipal experience. I've worked on the Planning Commission and the Public Works Committee. I've got leadership experience, going back to my over a decade of experience in management and leadership with the Walt Disney Company. I have policy experience, as that is what I do with my job with SoCal Gas. I'm a policy advisor, so I understand how to read city code. I can interpret laws when they come down from the state or federal government. So I would be the best candidate qualified to represent you in District 2. Thank you all so much.
Allow me to respond to the statement that I have not lived here for as long as others. Yes, that is true, but that is to no fault of my own. I was what is known as a ward of the court, which means I grew up in the system with a social worker because my parents were both heroin addicts and passed away from heroin overdoses. So by default, you cannot choose where you live as a kid, but as an adult, when I did move here, we decided to move to Downey because we had a daughter, and this was the place we wanted to raise her. And what makes me qualified, well, actually to add to that, one of the additional lenses that I bring is I bring diversity in living in other regions within Southern California and other regions throughout the globe, having served in the military. And in addition to that, I have managed public funding for more than 5 years, over $750 million as previously stated. And for that reason, I am familiar with government practices and processes. Thank you.
I do want to comment about District 2. By the way, all three candidates are wearing the same color shoes, okay? Just want to comment so there's some clarity there.
So, what makes me the best candidate, Juan Martinez, for District 4, is that I've lived here for 13 years. But more than that, I've attended the City Council for years now, about 4 to 5 years. And in that time, I have seen the problems and issues affecting our city. I have seen our First Amendment rights cut. I've seen social programs that benefit our communities cut. I've seen staff members get in trouble for actions that they shouldn't be taken. I'm a delegate currently. I'm a delegate for the Democratic here for the 64th District. And I am here for representation of our renters and a housing advocate. The best thing that I can say about me that I bet none of the candidates can say up here tonight is that I am not beholden to money. I do not take money from real estate. I do not take money from investors or private interests. I am here and have always attended our city council events for the people, for the concerns and issues of the people.
Thank you. What makes me the best candidate for re-election? Well, let me tell you, over the last 4 years, I have served my community with distinction. I led during 2020 as vice mayor, in 2021 as mayor, during the most difficult time in the history of our lifetime with the COVID-19 pandemic. My background is in national emergency management. My background is also as a mother, as a professional, as a healthcare professional, and it is critical to have individuals with knowledge and with experience in city finances. Over the last 8 years, we have passed a balanced budget. My service to the community has been over the last 20 plus years in various organizations as my children play sports with the PTA. Unlike the candidates that are running against me, I am much more than just a lip service to the community. I am engaged and I have been involved and I would like to serve this community another 4 years. Thank you.
So, what makes me qualified? You know what's important to me is you. Your lives, the lives of your family. and making sure that your lives are becoming better, not harder. You know, the councilwoman talks about, you know, leading during the crisis. Did you know that in LA County, the elderly are dying at a higher rate from COVID this summer than past summer? Is that leading? No. We have to take actions that are serious and help people, and not just say things in order to get elected, right? We have to be honest with people and lead. I want to share. I started a business here, okay? About 20 years ago, you know, a family car dealership. I know the challenges that come with that. I created Speak Up America to make everyone's voices heard on the issues they care about. What makes me qualified is it's not about me, it's about you, and me focusing on making your life better. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question. What is the biggest issue specifically facing your district? Let's start with Dr. Anthony Felix and go right.
The biggest issue facing District 2 is public safety, and public safety is a very broad topic, and I was informed on the components of public safety through my engagement with the residents and voters of District 2, and specifically within the public safety domain, there are 3 components that the residents have voiced as a priority. The first priority is more residential patrols within more patrols within the residential streets. Second is addressing the need for increased lighting in residential streets. And then third is the need for sidewalks and or speed bumps given the specific neighborhood. And so that is the most paramount issue, and that is not an issue that I have deemed the most priority, but that is based on the feedback and engagements that I've had with residents in the district voicing concerns over this issue over the past month and a half. Thank you.
So, in canvassing and talking to our neighbors, just like Dr. Anthony Felix has said, the big concern that we have is public safety. People want to make sure that they can go walk their dog at night, that they can park their car in the street and not have their Cadillac converter stolen. Those are the big issues that I've heard, from the concerns of the citizens. So what I hope to do is not just support our police, but try and invest in technology that we can use to help curb cars from being taken away or Cadillac converters from being stolen. We can have more police going around our neighborhoods and the policing, but we need to invest in technology that's going to outsmart some of these people who are committing crimes in the community. And that's what I would do if elected, is work with our police officers to ensure that we can invest in technology to help keep our community safe. Thank you.
Yeah, again, the number one priority in canvassing and just talking to the residents and knowing District 2 very well, number one priority and concern is public safety indeed. And I can tell you through my experience with gangs out of Downey, not only coming off as past president over the past couple months or being past president for the past 2 years, I know the key of being proactive and engaging our community, our stakeholders, our city leaders, and just the residents overall. Talking to the residents, they've expressed concern about not feeling safe walking at night. We have senior citizens, we can't forget about our senior citizens who don't feel safe walking the neighborhoods, and it wasn't always like that. And I grew up in Downey. I can tell you that the public safety issues has increased over the last several years. It wasn't always like that. And we need to be able to engage with our communities, our civic leaders, and all our stakeholders, and work proactively with our police department wide, 100% support to make sure that our cities are safe and we get back to the way Downey used to be. Thank you.
Let's go to Juan Martinez and go left.
So some of the biggest issues that my district, the District 4, faces today is sexism and bigotry in the council chamber. When we wanted to raise the pride flag here in Downey, council members like Claudia Fermetta fought against it and had their friends lobby, who made remarks that were very abhorrent. When we tried to get a pride march to happen here in Downey, the same people came back and fought against it. When we have a council that silences the people, we used to have 5 minutes of public comment, now we have 3. And if 10 people get in line, then they might cut your access time to 1 minute. When people can't communicate with their government, that's an issue. When we have broken promises like a park, like the Rio San Gabriel, which is a landfill sinking every year, or a fire station in District 4 that isn't functioning properly. Those are broken promises that they make with your money that are not meeting your needs. Those are the promises that I'm here to address, but unfortunately, there's still more.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. You know, during my mayoral year last year, we increased mental health staff assigned to our police department. When the question is, what are the issues plaguing District 4? Yes, public safety continues to be number one, and certainly transient activity. We have seen an increase in transient activity, breaking into our businesses, and also getting in the way of people feeling safe in their homes with homeless encampments along the riverbed. My work over the last several years since I've been on council, but most importantly after this COVID time, has been ensuring that we increase police patrols, that we increase police patrol activity around our parks. As I mentioned many times before, I do drive around our city at 10, 11 o'clock at night, making sure that our parks are safe for our communities. And safety, public safety, and transient activity. Those are the two issues in District 4 that I will continue to address, and I've been addressing over the past several weeks. Thank you.
What is the biggest issue? The most important thing than anything is health, is our health. If we don't have health, what do we have? Everything else is a challenge, okay? And what's going on right now is we are not prioritizing health. And so this affects every other thing. This affects the economy, okay? This affects the businesses who are seeing lower revenues, okay? And they're worried they can't pay their workers, and they're worried they're gonna go out of business. Right now in hospitals, here at Kaiser, I've waited over 9 hours to get a room for family. Is that healthy? No, we need to prioritize health. It is the foundation. When people lose their businesses, their jobs, they can't pay for their homes, they can't pay for their school, okay? What happens when the economy is bad? Safety is an issue, right? We have to be proactive. Health is number one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is, the Downey City Council is expected to hire a new city manager next year. What qualities would you like to see in Downey's next city manager? Let's start with Art Montoya, and then go to Hector, and then Dr. Felix.
So, in talking to the residents about this, everyone's been curious about replacing our city attorney with a permanent one, same with our city manager, head of economic development, and so on. The concerns that I would look for in hiring these individuals to replace these spots is to make sure that they truly understand the wants of the community, the needs of the community, and the values of the community. Those three things are the most important, and that's what I would look for. There aren't any specific, resume, builders, where they went to law school or, what city they came from, but knowing the wants, the needs, and the values of our community. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that question. Great question. I believe what we need to find in a city manager is someone with the highest ethics, someone with a professional resume, a proven track record of leading cities successfully, and someone who's going to be firm, someone who's going to hold the city council accountable, someone who's going to hold the staff, the city staff accountable, and just be transparent. Also, we need a city manager who's going to stand against organizations such as Ojos Locos coming into our community. And it's nothing personal, but I was disappointed that my opponent to my right, Mr. Montoya, is a commissioner who voted to approve Ojos Locos, which is a concern for many of our cities, for many of our city's residents. We're very concerned for their families and also the location of of that venue across the street from Downey High School and right next to the senior center, which is a concern for all of us residents. Thank you.
Art Montoya will respond.
Thank you. With all due respect to my opponent, Mr. Sosa either is spreading disinformation or he doesn't understand how government works, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that he doesn't understand how government works, because when the decision with Ojos Locos came to the Planning Commission, I was appalled because we were only given the option to vote on whether they can have a DJ and the design of the building. If it were up to us, we would not have voted to allow Ojos Locos in the city, but that is the vote that we were presented from the staff. So I'm happy that at least the council was able to pass an ordinance to regulate the dress code. But the fact is that's not true. We did not allow Ojos Locos in the city. Thank you.
We're good with addressing the question. Can we state the question again, please?
Sure. The question is, the Downey City Council is expected to hire a new city manager next year. What qualities would you like to see in Downey's next city manager?
So the requisite qualities for a city manager are effectively the qualities needed to be the executive director of the city, and my subject matter expertise is specific to this particular area. There are 6 qualities that a city manager must possess. First off is they must be accountable, they must be a representative of the administration, they must be responsible in their role, they must be efficient and effective. Those are 2 cornerstones of an administration. And lastly, the 5 characteristics that I mentioned will foster legitimacy. If the city manager is able to harness legitimacy, the city manager will be able to move the city forward in a direction that will benefit not only the administration, the city, but also the quality of life for the residents that live in the city of Downey.
Thank you. Let's go to Claudia Romero.
Same question. You know, the qualities that we are looking for in a city manager really have to do with someone that is ethical, someone that is not willing to accept bribes from contractors, someone that is apolitical, that remains neutral, but is politically astute. Now, under the current council, with the destabilization we have seen, no city manager is going to want to come to this city until a solid, well-positioned council is seated. And that's why it's so important for our residents to make informed decisions, and really this coming November, vote for individuals that have not just the backbone, but have the experience and the knowledge, and that are people that are honest, that are ethical, and that are respectable. Amongst all of us here tonight, you get to decide who you want to be your representative. Thank you.
Joaquin Beltran.
I want the next city manager to do their job so well that I don't even know if there's a city manager, right? They need to be dependable, they need to be transparent, they need to show the process as things are unfolding. You know, there's a group of residents that have been coming to the council meetings because of the disruption that is going on around their homes on Telegraph. And they've been doing this, they tell me, for 5 years, yet there's been no responsiveness, you know? And so the city manager has to be responsive, the council member has to be responsive and show the process. What's going on? What are you doing during the process? How is there improvement happening? If people aren't seeing that, they're going to assume whatever is going on. Maybe nothing is going on. And in this case, nothing has been going on in that area. And so that's what we need. Someone who's action-oriented, dependable, transparent, and gets things done. Thank you.
Juan Martinez.
So this is a very important question, and it really matters. What we need to see first is work history. What have they done? Gilbert Livas they, in my opinion, did not do a good job. We were impacted by COVID. We were one of the highest cities impacted in the entire LA County. Right now, we have a law firm, Best and Krieger, which was involved in the Bell scandal for fraud. Some of you may not know that. We had I want to know if the city manager can discipline his staff. When John Askewi, which was our city manager, called the children of Downey fat, or when he conspired with other council members to say that our water wasn't contaminated, which it might be another thing you don't know. These people hid the information away from you, information that should have been accessible to you readily. But because we didn't have good management, and because council members turned the blind eye like Formetta and Ms. Pacheco did, we didn't get that information and people were deprived of valuable information.
I'm glad to hear all of you the qualities you're looking for a city manager. Having hired the last city manager, city attorney, that served a great job for our community for 14 years, that's going to be the most important thing you're going to have to do, is to hire the next city manager, city attorney. So I'm glad you're all taking it seriously to a point. So the next two questions are a little bit of yes or no. And we just want to get you on the record from your official positions on it. So Downey goes, as you know, Downey has rent control. Downey goes by the state mandate of 5% for rent control. Do you support additional rent control? And if you want to say why, we'll start from here, Mr. Sosa, all the way down left. Do you support additional rent control besides the state mandated one that we have at 5% now? Basically, hopefully yes or no, or you can keep it short, or you can answer however you want. But
Thank you, Mario. You know, we already have rent control in place, as you stated, and I don't feel that there's additional need for additional rent control. I can tell you that I firmly believe that landlords and residents should be able to freely negotiate terms, rental terms, and also landlords should be able to compete with each other to bring competitive prices. They should be able to compete with each other for tenants. That's my answer. Thank you.
So we already have state control, we already have rent control from the state. So no, I think the solution is to increase housing and place affordable housing for the city so that people can actually afford to live in the city they work. Thank you.
The answer to your question is no. I do not support rent control because it is a Band-Aid solution. Instead, we need to go further than rent control. We need to shift the housing model that we currently have, where it is capitalistic profits, to a program that I have created and I'm hoping to implement here in Downey called Housing Market Reset, where we prioritize putting families in homes, meaning we would shift from, again, the capitalistic profits to bringing families who have not, or excuse me, who do not currently own homes, give them the opportunity to own homes through grant funding that the city could apply for based on the reserves that we have. And this, if we don't do something greater than rent control, then at some point everybody who has income that doesn't go up annually will be priced out on an annual basis based on their income. So rent control was not the solution. We need to do something further.
I would challenge whether we actually have any real rent control here. Rent control has come up as an issue in the city council 3 times. And each time the council members have voted against it. Twice they have refused to even put it on the agenda. Rent control matters, and moratoriums matter because 55% of the population of Downey are renters. So if we're negating important issues like this, then we're negating 55% of the community members here. We are already behind on our RENA numbers, which is to build affordable housing demanded by the state, and council members are speaking against even doing that. So whatever can help our community members, which is half of the population, I am for investigating and pursuing. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez, just to get on the record, so you're in favor of additional rent control besides the 5% that we have?
I am.
Thank you. As of January 1st, 2020, the state of California passed rent control for the state of California, meaning it caps it at 5%. And so we do have that, and I do not support additional rent control measures. I do have to tell you, over the last 2 years, I was part of Affordable Housing Subcommittee for the City of Downey. And this Affordable Housing Subcommittee, what we did is we worked on an inclusionary housing ordinance. And this is to ensure that for every housing development we have in our city moving forward, that there is a percentage of affordable housing units included within that. Mr. Martinez erroneously said we have the RENA mandate, is the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, and that is a state mandate. We're supposed to build 6,000 units, housing units over the next several years in the city of Downey. Now, there is a portion of that based on our inclusionary housing ordinance will have to be affordable housing. Thank you.
So, what is going on right now? People are struggling to pay their bills. People are struggling to pay rent. We see it right now. People are living out on the street, okay? So this is a big, big problem, okay? And look, the solution is local, but it's countywide, it's statewide, it's national. We need a leader that is going to push for more housing across the board. That's the problem. It's a supply issue, okay? It's a demand issue, right? And so we need to build. Now, right now, the problem is right now. So what do? Do we adjust rent control in order to help people right now? That's the point. The point is not some abstract number that we're like, okay, and we think this is okay. No, are people suffering? Do they need help? We have to be open here to adjusting the rent control percentage. And so let's look at adjusting rent control.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Okay, thank you so much.
But your time is up. So you're in favor of additional rent control besides the state mandate?
I'm in favor of looking at this very seriously because it's a big problem. Rent control is part of the solution.
So sir, yes or no?
I gave my answer, thank you.
I'm going to take that as a yes, right? Yes. Okay, all right. So this is another yes or no question, and I don't think there's any opinion on this, and if you don't want to answer it, that's okay. Have you ever been arrested or convicted of a crime? And I'm going to start with you, Mr. Sosa. Okay, yes or no, or you can elaborate if you want to.
No. No, and no explanation. No explanation.
In full transparency, yes, I have been convicted of offense. I've been convicted of a DUI in 1999. However, that DUI has since been expunged. I was convicted of a DUI for blowing a .06 at 20 years old, which was under the 21 years of age to even drink. During that time, I was coping with the loss of my parents, who again had both died of heroin overdoses. I must clear the record. So I grew up, as I stated, as a ward of the court. My parents were still alive. I would visit them in and out of prison. My mother passed away in 1998, and my father passed away in 1999. I didn't live with them, but I had a relationship with them. I first found my mother after I graduated high school. I moved to Las Vegas to reunite with her. After 2 weeks of living with her, I came home and found her seasoned, and she passed away, and I witnessed it. A year later, I saw that with my father. So I did get a DUI, but it was a result of me coping with the loss of my parents.
Go ahead, Mr. Martinez.
Currently, no. But I have been harassed for being a brown man. And I do understand that it's difficult being a minority in the LA County and across the United States. That's what's inspired me to look at our police closely and make sure that we have ethical people working for us and using our tax money. So as your council member, I hope that we can not only improve our community, but show more transparency.
Thank you. No, I have never been arrested or convicted of a crime. Thank you.
I'm too passionate, but I've never been arrested as well. I think, the United States has the biggest incarceration system in the world. I think this issue, we need to address head on. I think we need to invest in our people. And it comes, again, on prevention, right? Invest in our people so that people aren't committing crimes in order to make ends meet. I think it's, we have a lot to do here in the United States, and I think investing in education and opportunities and jobs, this is how we reduce the amount of people who are incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you, and we do appreciate your honesty. Next question, do you support increasing taxes to fund city services? We'll start with Joaquin Beltran.
Yeah, so there's a hospitality tax right now. And so, this tax, for example, isn't a tax that the residents would pay, right? It's people who would stay at hotels or potentially Airbnbs if the city moves in that direction. And so, it really depends. I think as moments either demand more investment, we can look at that. But let's be honest here. What we should be pushing, every person here in this room, is to tax corporations that are making billions of dollars, okay? That is money that is paying for yachts, that is paying for vacations, paying for islands. Do people really need an island for themselves? No, we need better housing here, jobs, education. Let's focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a current measure, the TOT, the transient occupancy tax. The city of Downey currently has it at 9%. We've been at 9% for very many years. We did a study, and the studies show that cities similar to our size, that are independent cities with their own police and fire departments, range between 12 and 14%. And so we felt, by the advice of our financial individual, that bringing that percentage to a 13% would be feasible and would generate the millions of dollars that we would then turn to our public safety, our 911 response system. We've been talking about over the last couple of years, especially post-COVID, how important public safety is to our city and to our neighborhoods. Now, we do have our own police department, but it is imperative that we utilize those funds to increase our patrols and also to improve our 911 response system. So yes, there's that TOT tax from 9% to 13%. Thank you.
Thank you.
So the answer for me right now at the moment is no. We are in a recession. We are going through a pandemic and families are struggling, and right now we're dealing with a homeless crisis and not enough housing. We have measures like Measure R, which are supposed to improve our community and fix our parks and our police and our fire stations and address the police in our city. We have broken promises. We have Rio San Gabriel, which is a landfill, it's sinking. It's not being properly fixed. We have a fire station that isn't accessible right now. So what we need here is actual fiscal responsibility. We don't need to take more money from the community. We need to do our jobs right. That's why we need to talk to our staff members and ask them, what can you do that doesn't take money out of the people's pockets? And what can you do to allocate and make the appropriate decisions to continue to do what we can with what we already have, which we have plenty.
So the answer is no. I do not support any increases for property or sales tax. Instead, what I would do is request the city manager and the administration produce a report on fiscal or budgetary allocations and look at areas of wasteful or overspend and identify areas where we need to allocate funding to fill in the gaps. That way, we have a balanced way, funding is allocated to the appropriate areas where there are needs. In addition to that, we would look to the state to secure funding to match those funds that we have as the administration. It is time to shift the burden away from the residents of Downey and put it on the state to match the amount of funding that the citizens contribute in order to stay fiscally sound.
I'm going to give an answer that we gave a lot in law school. It depends. It depends on the tax. We have the hotel tax, we have the school bond that's up. So it really all depends. And I'm definitely torn because in canvassing and meeting all the neighbors and everyone I've talked to, everyone is struggling. You know, we're coming out of a pandemic, inflation is real, people are having trouble paying for gas to go to work, to pay for food. So it's really tough on everyone right now, and I think that when looking at a tax, you really have to weigh the economic impact it's going to have on the community and the businesses impacting, and whether those pros outweigh the cons, and that's how you must look at every tax. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't support any new taxes, not in this economic environment we're in right now. I believe that the TOT tax, it's just not the right time. We do have a new, a major chain hotel coming into the city of Downey. That alone is going to bring additional revenues to the city. And before we start trying to tax ourselves out of a problem or try to bring additional revenues to the community, we need to make sure we have we replace the executive staff that we've lost over the last several months to be able to make the right decisions and being fiscally responsible, making the right decisions that benefit the best interests of our city. So my answer again is no new taxes at this time.
So, staying on that line, we really can't tax large corporations here in the city of Downey, but obviously we can tax ourselves. 35 days from now, on the ballot, a few of you brought it up, the Downey residents will vote whether to tax ourselves $500 million for a Downey Unified School District bond and or an additional $450 million for Cerritos College. Now, we have two bonds we're paying for on our property taxes for our homes now, for the school and one for Cerritos College. So having said that, in pretty much a yes or no answer, you can elaborate from there, but we do like to have a record. You support the $1 billion additional bonds that we're going to be voting on for as a resident of the city of Downey in the next 35 days. And we'll start out, Mr. Martinez, we'll start with you and go that way, and then we'll come back over here to District 2.
Again, right now, the economic recession, we have gas prices that are reaching $6, $7. We have homelessness on the rise. We have the minimizing and destruction of the dollar. We do not need to be taxing our community members. We need to do whatever we can to make sure that we have actual fiscal responsibility. Right now, we have measures that already extract money from the community, that make promises to do something, and then when we look at how our agendas are being made across the year, we're seeing that these facilities that were promised to us are not being built or are not accessible. Because of that, it is on the burden of the staff members and the council members to look within to fix these solutions. Raising taxes during an economic crisis and a recession and a pandemic is not the solution.
Thank you. Very quickly, I do want to say that the TOT, the transient occupancy tax, is $6 approximately on a $150 per night stay at a hotel in Downey. That's what this tax would do. In terms of Measure S, Measure S was that half-a-cent tax increase the citizens of Downey voted on, and we've had full transparency on that. Measure O was also has built the middle schools and the high schools across Downey Unified. I do think it's not the right time for this particular tax measure, and I'm talking specifically about Downey Unified. However, folks, let me make this very clear. The home values, our home values and the strength of our community has always been very closely tied to our police, our fire, and the strength of our Downey Unified School District. Now, if we don't take care of our Downey Unified School District and those schools are our top learning facilities for our children, then our home values will also go down as a community. Thank you.
Yes or no?
I don't support Cerritos tax increase. I do support Downey Unified. Thank you.
So on the hospitality tax, that's increasing it to potentially 13%. The neighboring cities are more at 12%. In part of the thinking there is just, would 12% have been better? Are we going to lose potential people coming into the city, to neighboring cities in order to save on that, bigger groups? I think it's unclear. I think there's also about $100,000 that's being paid to a PR firm. I don't think that's necessary. I think changing the hospitality tax rate, it is a good thing to do. I think that's money that's left on the table. I think we should do that. Neighboring cities are doing it and they're benefiting from it. I think on the educational bond, this is something I'd like to look at more closely. I think right now we know that safety, because of COVID, because of things like monkeypox.
I'm sorry, sir. The
Yeah.
time is up on there.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
So, yes or no on each one? The school bond, and yes or no on the Cerritos College?
So on the hospitality tax,
No, we did that one already, sir. This is
Okay.
only on the school bond
Yeah.
and or in the Cerritos College bond.
it's something I haven't made a decision on yet. Thank you.
So that's
It's to be determined. Thank
on
you.
both of them?
Yeah.
Short answer for me is no, I do not support these bonds. However, one of my top priorities is to ensure that we support the school board in securing funding to provide safe learning environments for the children in the city of Downey. That is one of my top priorities. And in order to achieve that, we don't need an additional bond during this economic turmoil. What we need is to work at looking at grants from other governing entities and governing bodies that we can secure as leverage that we would not have to pay back, but simply administer into the school district to ensure we can achieve the objective. If we add these bonds, the funding will definitely find a home and the funding will be allocated. And once it's allocated, it's difficult to start trimming the waste or reducing budgets. It's never going to be an answer of no, because we should always look at it with an attitude of yes, if. And if we get to that if by working with funders, then we can achieve the goal.
So with the school bond tax, again, I'm torn because interest rates are high, inflation is high, people are hurting. Having said that, I am a product of the Downey Unified School District. I went to elementary school here in Downey. I went to Griffiths Middle School here in Downey, and I went to Warren High School. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the Downey Unified School District. Our school board is doing a heck of a job. And I was happy to have that opportunity to go through our public schools, and I feel that every child should have that same opportunity to do so as well. So, having said that, I would want our kids to continue to go to top-notch public schools here in Downey, and for this, I would support it. Thank you.
The Cerritos College one, sir?
Yes.
You support both of them?
Okay, thank you. I have the utmost respect and faith for our school district and our school board. I am a product of the Downey schools as well. I attended Griffiths Middle School. I attended Warren High School, as did my wife. And our two sons have grown up through the Downey Unified School System. However, in walking the campaign trail and talking to residents, hearing all their concerns, a lot of residents are really concerned about the increase in property taxes. I can tell you, and this is a tough decision for me, because I would like to see an economic impact report. And since the middle schools have been upgraded, the high schools, you want to see all the infrastructure, all our grade schools improved as well. But since we're coming off a pandemic and people are concerned about this economic environment we're in right now, I have to say that it's bad time. It's a timing issue, and I think we should table this for now.
So to be clear, is that a no?
On the Cerritos College school bond, it's a no. And for the Downey Unified School District, I think we should table it, so I guess you would say that's a no.
Thank you. Homelessness is an issue facing not only Downey, but also our entire region. If you were on the city council, how would you address homelessness? We'll start with Hector Sosa.
Well, you know, the homelessness issue is a very sensitive and crucial topic that's affecting our whole country, our state of California, here in LA County, and we see it here in Downey. You know, you can't help but be compassionate towards the homeless, but at the same time, walking the district and talking to all the residents and just people I've known over the years and built relationships with and being tied to the community for such a long time. You know, residents are fed up with the homelessness issue because we have not been able to figure out what we're doing. It's just not working. I know a couple years ago, the city of Downey engaged a nonprofit a group of experts called Coast to Coast, and I'd like to see how effective they were, but I understand that they were pretty effective in mitigating the homelessness issue. And what we need to do is we need to get all stakeholders, whatever's going on, whatever solutions our city or country's been throwing at the homelessness issue has not been working. So we need to get all stakeholders, business, community leaders, and residents together to try to come up with proactive solutions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I have some experience, not as extensive as other people working with homelessness, but I have some experience of working with homelessness, and I won't claim to solve the problem, but I will work on a solution to address it, and that solution is this. I think that if I'm elected city council, I would apply for grant money or any outside funding so that we can contract and have 1 or 2 city staff at City Hall dedicated to addressing homelessness outreach. And what that means is when we see someone out in the city who's homeless, that person's sole job, whether it's a social worker or someone who has the qualified skills, their sole job is to reach out to that homeless person and engage with them and get an intimate understanding of what they need, whether that's mental health, you know, transitional housing, and for them to work with the county to make sure that we get this homeless person the care that they need. And I'll make sure that we do that quickly and promptly. Thank you.
Given the fact that I work for the lead agency who manages the homeless services in Los Angeles County as the administrator, I am one of the top officials for the administration that I work for in this domain. And this is a subject matter expertise that I would bring that is currently a gap within the current council. And what we need to address this problem is a coordinated effort at various levels, which would mean bringing in a nonprofit, working with the city administration to feel for what is the best way to address this. I lead the homeless count on an annual basis here in the city of Downey. In the 2022 homeless count, there were 27 folks that were experiencing homelessness during that count. What the city specifically needs is to set up an access center at the outer edge of the city to ensure that folks that are experiencing homelessness gravitate to that access center where they can be connected to programs in other areas that are specific to their needs. And that would be a way to pull them away from being transient status within the city and provide them with a location where they can.
Thank you, Dr. Felix. Your time. Juan Martinez.
Thank you very much. One of the things that I've worked on is with housing advocates. And one of the most important things that prevents homelessness is keeping families in their homes. We need to create programs like providing rental assistance, passing moratoriums, and looking to see if we need to adjust rent control. We also don't need to be putting more burdens on the community, like raising taxes. And we need a team of psychologists and sociologists to work with our current police and our current programs to make sure that we aren't brutalizing or dehumanizing the homeless. Right now, not too long ago, Rick Rodriguez, former mayor, he made a veterans program that is now accessible through the library. We can create programs that are similar to that that will help people in need. And we just gotta look at our budget, we gotta be fiscally responsible, and we gotta make sure that when we are doing these decisions, that we remember that they are humans too. Thank you.
Thank you. Homelessness is certainly a critical issue, and there's no easy answers. It's a multi-pronged approach. We've assigned mental health professionals to work with our police department. We've engaged LASA. We had a contract with Coast to Coast. We've done many of these things. One of the things that our community is not necessarily too keen on is talking about shelters. And I know that when we talk about homelessness, it's more about drug addiction and mental health issues. We can't just provide people services, a bed and food when there's deeper issues going on. And it's just about, sweeping them from one side of the street or the one side of the city to the other side of the city. So having said that, we've been working very closely, as I mentioned to you, through the Affordable Housing Subcommittee, the inclusionary housing ordinance that we created, and also the county supervisor, and looking at ways to bring a multi-pronged approach to address that issue. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I took my eye out from all that.
Homelessness is a humanitarian crisis, and it stems from bad economic policies that have been going on for decades here, and we need to address those head on. The top 1% in the United States make more than the bottom 90%, and that's increasing every year. What we need to make sure is that the residents here in Downey are safe, and also the homeless, those who are unhoused, are safe as well. If you actually have conversations with those who are unhoused, they fear for their safety as well. These are people just like you and me that are out on the street. If we imagine ourselves, being unhoused, right? That is tragic. That should not be happening to our fellow human beings. So we need to invest. We need to make sure there's a process for upward mobility for those who are living on the streets, okay? And so we need to invest in education, jobs, and opportunities for them. Thank you so much.
We all feel that compassion, and there's no easy answer. There's a gentleman that's living right in the middle of downtown Downey every single day that we get complaints about because he's scaring other people and he's going in front of traffic and can hurt himself. And there's no right or wrong answer. We all try to reach out to him, and we don't know what to do. So it is a complicated issue. And it's scary for the residents of downtown Downey every single day having to cross the street because they're scared of him. So we can all appreciate that. So the next question, and it's also more of a yes or no, but I want to ask it. So last week, the Downey Patriot reported that Mayor Pro Tem Catherine Alvarez, 4,500 signatures have been turned in and certified by the LA County for a recall election because of her failure to disclose her past criminal record. So I'll start in the right and the left on there. Do you support the recall of Mayor Pro Tem Catherine Alvarez?
Yes, I do. And, the residents, the concerned residents of District 3 obviously gathered enough signatures and to put the recall in place. There's enough concern there. So, elected officials should be held to a higher standard. They should be fully transparent and truthful. And, we all believe in second chances. But if you look at the record, she's had multiple chances. And I don't believe a city council environment is the right place for a sixth or seventh chance. And, really, we have to hold, as potential city council members up here, we have to hold ourselves to a higher standard and really just not look out for our own self-interest and truly represent the best interest of the district and the city overall. So yes, I am for it because obviously the residents gathered enough signatures to make it happen.
Thank you, sir.
So the voters have spoken. Signatures have been validated. There's going to be a recall vote coming forward. And I respect the outcome and decision of the voters of District 3 on whether they recall Councilmember Alvarez or not. And I think that we all need to respect that on what the voters decide. Thank you.
So I will refrain from giving a yes or no answer on this, and here's why. Not because I'm swaying one way or another, but because this is going to happen. The recall was successful. Now, for me to give a decision would be short-sightedness if I do become the elected to represent District 2, for the simple fact that if I give a opinion of her that is negative, then she's less likely to work with me in approving things in the majority, and the citizens will be impacted by her decision out of spite. If I agree with her, then others on the council will disagree and may do things out of spite. The best path forward for someone coming in and hoping to collaborate with others to get the outcomes that we want, that are desirable for the community, is to keep your personal opinion about seated council members and show your actions through your decision making on the dais.
Juan Martinez.
I want to respect the voters of the 3rd District and say that if they gather enough signatures that they should move forward with their will. But looking at the issue, I want to point out that a lot of people are invested in Catherine Alvarez being dismissed from her position. People who have funded that effort have been people from the who are landlords and part of the real estate industry. People who would be affected by things like moratoriums and rent control. So this is an attack on her platform. I want to ask everyone that's actually signing papers against her, where were you when Ms. Pacheco was advocating to end our voting rights and our representation? Where were you guys when our water was contaminated and Claudia Frumeta was saying that the water was safe to drink? Where were you guys when Mario Trujillo was challenging constituents to a fight during a city council meeting? Where were you when people were breaking laws right in front of you? Not even 6 months ago, but yet you want to complain about something that happened 10 years ago. Where were you?
Thank you.
Thank you. This is democracy at work. I do support the recall. Over 4,500 residents signed. I've said it before, and those of us here participating in this forum have indicated they are people of integrity and people of ethics. And having said that, we all believe people of integrity and ethics should represent this community. And we cannot teach our children about the values of hard work and responsibility and ethics if the individual representing us, representing them, has a lengthy criminal record. Someone who, while in office, voted against the code of ethics for city council and commissioners. And I think this speaks volumes of the city that we are. We want individuals that have certain character, the character values that we represent and that we want. Thank you.
If we could please refrain from applause, thank you.
No, I'll accept it. Thank you so much. We need a council member that's focused on what's important. The people of the 4th District are not laying in bed at night saying, I hope Catherine Alvarez gets recalled. No, they're not thinking about that. They're thinking about important things. They're thinking, am I going to be able to pay my bills on time? Am I going to be able to stay in my home? Am I going to be able to pay for my education or my child's education, help them get through college? And am I going to be able to continue with my small business, or am I have to let employees go or shut down completely? These are the things that are important. It is a distraction to focus on things like a recall. The first recall, very silly in the city of Downey. I mean, let's not make ourselves a joke. Let's be serious people that are focusing on serious issues that make the people of Downey, their lives better.
Thank you. Please, please round of applause. Now we have questions for individual candidates. We're going to start with Dr. Anthony Felix. Dr. Felix, on social media, you claim that you were physically assaulted while campaigning and had guns brandished at you twice. Why did you not report these incidents to Downey police?
So to correct the record, I never stated and actually came out with a video explaining the situations. No one at any point brandished a gun at me. And it is not a crime to have a gun on your person inside your residence when you answer the door. This is a problem that is stemming from the public safety issue. There are residents that are truly concerned with police patrols in their communities and the lack thereof, and assumedly what the crime rate is increasing. However, the fiscal the performance report just came out last week noting that there was a 46% reduction in crime to persons. So there is a misunderstanding in the residents, from the residents thinking that there's crime, but to the point, I did not have a gun pointed at me. Someone did physically assault me, and I felt that I didn't need to contact the police simply because I didn't sustain injury.
Okay. Mr. Montoya, you were appointed by Councilman or Mayor Pro Tem Alvarez as our planning commissioner, and now you're currently one of her commissioners. So you two different commissions you've been appointed by her. Obviously, we just talked about the recall. Do you have any trepidations being associated or tied in with her, especially being appointed as supervisor?
No, thank you for that question. So, Catherine Alvarez is her own council member who makes her own decisions, a lot of which I don't agree with. And the fact of the matter is, yes, she appointed me as one of her committee members because she knew that I was the best candidate for the job to represent our community. But she wasn't the only one who thought that. All of the council members believe that as well because they approved my appointment not once for the Planning Commission, but twice on the Public Works Committee. And that should just set the record that, you know, the work I do is to represent the community to the best of my ability, and I'm confident the council felt that way as well.
The next question is for Hector Sosa. Mr. Sosa, you're a board member with West Downey Little League and other nonprofits. Do you support using city money to financially support Downey nonprofit organizations?
Well, I think it's important to maintain strong reserves for our city. We all saw what happened to Orange County a number of years ago. But as far as the general fund goes, you know, if it's within the budget, I do believe in supporting nonprofits. We do have a lot of very good nonprofits that serve our communities, anywhere from our youth to our seniors in the community overall. But there has to be a system in place that's fair and equitable. Some nonprofits could use funds more than others, and there has to be full transparency if funds were allotted or allocated towards nonprofits. But I know that there are certain nonprofits that could use additional funds. You know, we also have some legacy nonprofits as well, such as the Rosebud Association. But it has to be done in a responsible manner, and if there's room in the budget, yeah, I think there's room to look into that if it benefits the community overall.
Thank you. This is one of the questions that came in from the audience, and it ties in a little bit to my next question too. So the question that came up here was, our city council meetings are not suitable for kids. The foul language is abhorrent. What would you do to bring back the quorum of the council meeting? So one of the questions that I had, Mr. Martinez, this goes to you. How would you answer those who say that your use of foul language at council meetings is not a good example for the youth of Downey?
First off, I want to say that this argument has actually been used to attack the community of Downey. It is because they've used proxies like Herman that they cut down the time from 5 minutes to 3. That if there's more than 10 people, instead of 3 minutes, you get 1 minute. It's because people get passionate. They get passionate about seeing their council members violate the law, violate the Brown Act, misappropriate funds. And when people are having water contamination, showering, drinking it, when our money is being allocated to other sources that are not fixing our parks or our fire stations, when our civil rights are being in question and our representation is being ended by people who are attempting to end it, people get upset. And those things are justified and worthy of being upset about. We need to protect the First Amendment, and we need to stand by those values. The social environment out there is rough, but it belongs to the people.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Next question is for Joaquin Beltran. Sir, you ran for Congress earlier this year and lost. Why is it that you now want to run for Downey City Council?
Because I want to make my community, our community, achieve our Downey dreams again. That's why I ran for Congress. Because my story is a story similar to many of yours. It's an immigrant story. My parents came here, they met here, and they came here for the American dream. And part of their American dream was Downey. And so we moved here when I was about 10 years old. I remember before that, my mom drove down the street on Downey Avenue and said, I want to live here. And soon enough, in about a year, we had a home here. And at 18 years old, I went to the city council to push for a business that we wanted to start because we were uprooted from our previous small business. And we started that. And it's been a beacon for the city as well. And so, but the Downey dream is getting harder for everybody. And that's why I'm running, because it needs to be healthy, safe, and a thriving economy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So this one is for Claudia Fermetta. Given the current instability in our city, why do you think you deserve another 4 years on the Downey City Council?
Thank you, Mario. That's a great question. People ask me, why are you doing this again? We survived 2 years of the greatest challenges with COVID. Our city during that time did not cut any services and came really unscathed. We provided one of the highest vaccination rates in the Southeast under my leadership. And why do I want to do this? Because I want to bring back decency and stability to our city council. Never in the history of our Downey, and I've been here for 34 years, many of you have been here longer than I have we seen where City Hall is at this point in time. We need strong leadership. We need individuals that are vested in this community, and I want to be able to serve the residents under different terms. The 2 years with COVID were trying and they were difficult, but the best days are ahead of us. Even with the recession, we have better days ahead of us, Downey, and I want to earn your vote one more time. Thank you.
So we're going to go back to yes or no really fast because we got 3 quick questions and then we're going to get through what the audience asked for. These are issues that have come up in the past, and our residents have told us they want to hear your positions on it. So I'm going to ask you 3 different questions. Would you support widening the 5 or 605 freeways if it resulted in the loss of use of Downey homes? Yes or no question. Do you support Downey police in keeping all public safety local? And that's a yes or no question. That's come up in the past. And do you support greater housing density in Downey? So we'll start with the housing density, Mr. Sosa, and we'll go through. Or you can answer all 3. The housing density, support local police, or why don't we go one at a time? You support local housing density in Downey, yes or no, sir?
Well, we're mandated by Sacramento, correct?
For certain numbers. I'm talking about, making it more density. People are worried about, and what we got the questions were about overbuilding and residential area.
Right. No, you know what? In the city of Downey, I think we have enough traffic as it is. We have enough housing here, and I don't think we need additional traffic.
Mr. Montoya?
Are we doing all 3?
Oh, well, we can then. If you're going to do that, or you want to go just all the way across. Okay. Do you support Downey police in keeping all public safety local?
I support Downey PD 100%. Okay, I want to keep them local, and we want to make sure that they have all the resources available to protect our quality of life here in Downey.
Okay. And lastly, do you support widening the 5 or 605 freeway if it resulted in the loss of Downey homes?
No.
Mr. Montoya?
With regards to housing density, I think it depends. It must be done tastefully, where we've done traffic studies, SEQA studies, and the planners have put in time and effort to make sure that it's done tastefully to protect not just people, but our neighborhoods. Some of them are historic, and I think that we need to preserve some of our historic homes and neighborhoods. So it really depends on how the development is. I completely support Downey Police and Fire Department. And I do not support expanding the 605 or 5 freeway and getting rid of Downey homes.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Felix.
To the first point, no, I do not support increasing housing density past the minimum mandated requirement. To the second question, I do not excuse me, I do not support outsourcing our police. There are a lot of negative implications with that. And then third, I do not support expansion of the freeway by any means.
Mr. Martinez?
So the first one, housing density, we are mandated by Sacramento. This isn't difficult. We can build housing that is eco-friendly, that actually improves our city, and that is more transit-friendly. So I know council members mentioned traffic, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case, especially if you're working with current people who are very informed on this matter. As for local police, I do appreciate and value that we do have our own police force. I will have to say, given the way that Mr. Villanueva has been running the sheriff's department, I don't have a lot of faith, and I believe that it would be better for us to be able to address our concerns locally here than to have to go through all this rigorous task of addressing it at the county level. And finally, for the widening of the 605, I was actually one of the activists, along with the Happy City Coalition organization, that fought against the expansion of the freeway because it was an environmental risk.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez.
It was 3, so
I know, but we still have 1 minute. There were yes or no questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Really quickly, regarding the regional housing needs assessment, RHNA, if I support density, it's whether I support it or not is really besides the point. As cities, we are mandated, we are state mandated to build X number of homes, whether we like it or not, and that's why we have fought for local control. We have fought, and we have asked, lobbied, and advocated with our senators, our assembly individuals, to not sign certain Senate bills so that we can retain our local control. That at some point, we will have to build additional housing, and we will have to see how we do it, but we have to do it. It's not a matter of whether we want to or not. Secondly, of course, I'm gonna support continuing with our police department, keeping it local. And in terms of widening the 605, I sit as a vice chair for the JPAI 5, and I've been fighting against the over 200 properties that would have been taken with the widening of that project. Thank you.
Thank you.
So for the Downey Police, I think having our police be local it is the best because we have better accountability, better management, and then the city council can make sure that there's transparency happening there. On housing density, you know, we have to build. It's just necessary. I think we have to also, you know, lead also county level wide, state level, and national again. The housing issue isn't. It hurts us locally, but it's a national issue. So the more we push there, the more housing will be available. And when it comes to what was the 605? You know, my family has been uprooted before from eminent domain, and you know, we have to pick ourselves up, and it was very tough. So I'd be hard pressed.
Thank you.
I probably wouldn't support something like that.
Thank you. You know, we're wrapping up. I want to thank everybody for being here and sticking around. We're going to wrap up with questions from the audience. This question is to all candidates. Would you have voted to force City Manager Gilbert Rivas into retirement, and why? Let's start with Juan Martinez and go left.
Gilbert Rivas did not fulfill his duties in protecting our city during the pandemic. We were one of the most impacted in the entire LA County. Gilbert Rivas did not hold John Askew accountable when he created conflicts of interest at the Central Basin. He did not fire John Askew when he called the children of Downey fat. That's his staff member. Gilbert Rivas did not inform the council members like Ms. Romero and Ms. Pacheco that our water was contaminated and that they needed to inform the community. Gilbert Rivas should have been fired, in my opinion, and we should have immediately looked for a better city manager. Having people that are in the pockets of private interests and investors is not what Downey needs. The next city manager that Downey gets needs to be a fighter for the community, not for investors, not for private interests, and not for the interests of personal greed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure where my opponents are getting their information, but not having lived in this city long enough would tell you that. Gilbert Levis is one of the most ethical and transparent individuals our city has ever had. And he is one of the most respected city managers across Southern California. Losing him was one of the toughest things for our city. Under his leadership, we were able to rebuild from the Great Recession in 2007, 2008. And I would not vote to accept his resignation. I voted against that, actually, and I would vote that way again, because he was not for any one council member, he was for all of us. And he always looked for the best interest of the community. As I said before, he was apolitical, but politically astute. And that man, with his leadership, we had 9 balanced budgets. Thank you.
The problem with this whole dismissal is transparency. We don't have the details. We don't know what went on. We don't know why he was asked to resign. And so what is going on? It's like this, okay, what do you have done and what do you have not? Well, give me information. You know, what is going on? And that's part of city government, to provide you the best information, to empower its citizens with the best information, to provide transparency so you understand, okay, whether you agree or disagree. It is important for the residents of Downey to understand completely what is going on, and not just for these decisions to be made behind closed doors, and we just, you know, hear the rumors, we don't know, and that's not right. There has to be transparency.
Thank you. Dr. Anthony Felix.
So to answer this would be a hypothetical that I will refrain from answering simply because it's already happened. I would like to just shift in stating we would need to learn from this experience in when we hire the next city manager, and that we must prioritize performance of the city manager. Now, under his watch, and based on the recent fiscal performance report, the city was fiscally sustainable. Certain outcomes were achieved across the board for the city. So we need to develop metrics to measure annually on the city manager's performance to achieve the objectives of the city, to move the city in the appropriate direction. This is the way we should move forward, and it is based on the lessons we can learn from the city manager who resigned.
Without having any more information as to why it was even a vote or a question, I would have to say no, because unless I'm privy to what was discussed or Mr. Levis wasn't meeting expectations, from my appearance as a resident of Downey, I would have to say no, I would not have voted to remove him.
The answer is no. I would not have supported or voted to remove Gil Levis. I've had several interactions just being involved in the community for many years with Gilbert Levis, and just like Dr. Felix said, you know, he's done right by the city as far as keeping a sustainable fiscal impact with the city and running a balanced budget. And the way they did it was wrong. Gil Levis is a true professional, very ethical, and it was actually a pain to see him leave, especially at a time of instability. And coming off the pandemic and this inflationary period, this was not the right time to let a true professional like that go, who's only done right by the city.
Thank you. I wear my former mayor's pin proudly, and we're supposed to be, and we are nonpartisan, bipartisan up here, but I do want to say Gilbert Levis is one of the finest public servants I ever worked with. I evaluated his job performance for 8 straight years. So I just want to go on record with that. So this came from the audience. Do you agree with the resolution to have 2 council members support putting something on the agenda? And I'll start with, Dr. Felix. Start in the middle and work our way that way and that.
Objectively, I do agree with this because you would just need someone to propose the motion to put something on the agenda, and if someone seconded it, it should be on the agenda. I believe the manner in which the agenda items or proposal are raised should be determined through dialogue with the residents to determine whether or not it warrants being agendized. But the answer is yes, I do support the move to allow 2 council members to move forward an agenda item.
I support that agenda item as well because when you're on a council, there's 5 members. The magic number to pass anything is 3. So if you don't have the support of another council member, the odds of you passing that policy or legislation within the city is going to die. So it creates more efficient government. So I agree that having another person second that, I would pass that. Thank you.
I agree with it as well. I think for efficiency purposes, you should be able to have at least another council member who was elected by the city. Again, you have 5 council members, and you should be able to get another at least one more council member to look at the policy and make sure it carries enough weight to bring it up to the public. Otherwise, for efficiency purposes, we wouldn't be very efficient. So I agree with it. Thank you.
Mr. Beltran.
I think it should just be 1 council member that is able to bring it to the agenda. This is a democracy, right? You need 2 votes now? Bureaucracy sucks. Okay, no one likes bureaucracy. This is just more bureaucracy. And why not bring the idea, whatever, the ordinance, the issue to the table, and let's practice democracy. Let's talk. This is just shutting down ideas from the get-go. This is what government does a lot. Government is notorious for more bureaucracy. We don't need more bureaucracy, okay? We need to be able to express the voice of the residents, okay? And if an idea gets support, then let it get support. If it fails, let it fail, okay? But this is America, right? This is Downey, all right? Let's make sure people's voices are heard. Thank you.
Thank you. Very quickly, I believe for efficiency in the way we run our city needs to be a more effective way. And when you don't have, when you only have 1 council member asking staff to research this idea or that idea, it wastes time and resources. And if it doesn't have at least another council member support, certainly everybody knows we need 3 votes to get anything done. But it really allows us to move our priorities forward most effectively and most efficiently, because our job here is to represent the community, all of us, not a segment of the community, not a sliver of the community. Our job is to represent each and every one of you. And so with 2 votes, it allows us to know, okay, my other council colleague supports this, let's invest, let's have staff look into this staff report so that we can come back, dialogue openly with our residents and make an informed decision. But otherwise, we have too many making those decisions, then they don't go anywhere. Thank you.
Mr. Martinez.
When it comes to having 2 council members approve something to be on the agenda, I am completely and absolutely against that. First of all, each district has its own need. Each district has its own need, and they have their own differences. Without a council member being able to put something on the agenda, we wouldn't be able to have things like discussions on rent control, or like on having a pride march here in Downey. It was Sean Ashton who famously argued against Pacheco and Fermetta on this, and said that this deprives the community of a voice. You're not here to make time for yourself easier as council members. You're here to serve the will of the community. When the community is asking something to be put on the agenda, it needs to go on the agenda. And sometimes that may require one council member having the courage to put it on the agenda, and then for the people to lobby for it or fight for it. But that gives the power to the people.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. So, unfortunately, I have some institutional knowledge here. I was elected in 2006 when Jerry King was the city manager and then Gilbert Davis later on there. This has been old policy. We have never, ever put agenda on the city council unless 2 city council members want it. This is just formalized. But the city manager's not going to spend their time on one person putting something on there unless on there. So anyways, I just want to give you some institutional history. This is old news, so for many years. So I happen to know that. Mr. Pierce.
This is my final question, and it comes from the audience. What is your position on the Ojos Locos bar? Let's start with Councilwoman from Mexico.
What is my position in Ojos Locos bar? Well, certainly, folks, I'm not really happy about that. I'm not happy that that type of business has chosen to come to our city. I've got children that attend Downey High School, and I'm concerned, just as many residents have been, about a lot of issues related to this particular business. The type of clientele that may attract, the type of after hours activities that may attract. And again, unfortunately, businesses that come to a particular city, whether it's Downey, whether it's Santa Monica, or anywhere else, if they are within the zoning that they are seeking to be in, cities are not allowed to not welcome them or not allow them to open up. We can put a lot of restrictions, or the city gets sued, plain and simple.
Thank you. Let's go to your right. Walking in Ocean.
Yeah, this has been a very interesting topic, right? And so, you know, for me, it doesn't seem like the culture of Downey. You know, the culture of Downey for me, you know, growing up has been, you know, come here, go to the good schools, you know, start your small business, you know, it's upward mobility, right? And so, you know, with this restaurant, you know, it looks like the process has already been done. And so what we have to make sure as leaders in the city is that we continue promoting a culture of safety, okay, of making sure that our families are safe, that schools are safe, that if there are issues, that they are dealt with, and that we set expectations from the get-go right now, okay, that we are going to continue being a great city, a beacon in the state of California, and that's what we're going to follow through with.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Mr. Juan Martinez.
I do want to say that if a business meets all the requirements, is meeting the standards and needs of the city, and is working with the city members, this is a good way to prevent litigation and discrimination. Going against businesses trying to come in will only cause financial problems and can lead to lawsuits. But I will say that if the community is adamantly against it, then we do gotta continue to follow with the will of the people. So if the community wants Ojos Locos gone, then by all means, I would support the community members.
So during my time canvassing and engaging with residents of District 2, this particular matter was not a high priority. In fact, it was only mentioned a handful of times jokingly. However, I do recognize that as a council member, your decision in council impact the entirety of the city. And the consensus through the community is that this particular entity is not a reflection of Downey's identity. And because it is not a reflection of Downey's identity, it should not be in the the downtown area of Downey. What it is done, and it is going to move forward, and at this point, it is up to the council after the election to determine the most appropriate path to mitigate any potential issues that may come from this. And so we must look at root causes that would influence, we must look at root causes that would influence the dynamic of the business.
Again, like most everyone in the community, I was just, upset that this even came to a vote on the planning commission, and even more upset that when it came to us from staff, that we could only vote on whether they have a DJ or, the design of the building. So, if I could do it again and we had an option to vote no, I would vote no, because those are not the community or values of Downey, and, places like that shouldn't be here. If I'm elected, I would look at the policy of the city code to see what more we could do to prevent more restaurants like that from coming to Downey.
Thank you. No, I'm against Altos Locos. Altos Locos does not represent the values of Downey. Again, I grew up in the city, and I've been engaged with many families over the years, just serving the community. And I think the location right across the street from Downey High and right next to a senior complex is very concerning. And there's no room for that in Downey. And I have to ask, this isn't anything personal, but I do see Commissioner Ortiz in the crowd, and he was the only commissioner that raised concern over this and voted against it. But I wish the candidate right next to me, Montoya, would have expressed some concern, given that this is this goes against the family values that we have here in the city of Downey.
And I just want to reiterate, when it came to the planning commission, we couldn't vote whether to allow Altos Locos in the city or not, because what was on the table was a vote for the DJ and the design of the building, and both of those followed the code currently in place with the city. Again, if the vote of whether to allow it or not was on the table, I would have voted no, but because they followed the rules and laws of the city of Downey for a DJ and the design of the building, I wanted to be fiscally responsible for the city. We have a fiduciary duty to make sure we don't bring the city into litigation, and that's why we had to vote the way we did. Thank you.
We're going to start wrapping up, and we're going to ask each of you to your closing comments. You get 1 minute on there, and we'll go all the way down on there. We'll start with Mr. Beltran, and we'll go down, and then we'll thank you for being out here.
Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you all for considering my candidacy to represent you on the council. I'm running, for the Downey dream, and that is an aspiration that so many of us have had throughout the years, but it's getting harder. If you look, I'm the only candidate here with a mask. And you're asking, maybe, why is he wearing a mask? It's because I care. It's because there's people who are immunocompromised who are in the audience, others who are wearing a mask, because I'm a leader. Okay, I don't need to see what the person next to me is doing in order to do the right thing. Okay, cases are increasing. Hospitals, if you go to the emergency room, you're gonna see a line out the door. And what happens? People can't get the services they need, whether they have COVID or not, and that affects everybody. So if you're ready to achieve the American dream, the Downey dream again, please go to joaquinbeltran.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Beltran. I'm Claudia from Meta, and I've served you for the last 4 years. If you are happy with my leadership, elect me again. I'm happy to serve another 4 years. I love this community, and we have some stability issues that we need to get right in our city. I'm proud to have served this community for the last 30 years with my children in various capacities, and it's never been a most crucial time in the history of our city than now. These are the individuals sitting across you that will represent you moving forward. And it takes a lot of skill, it takes knowledge, it takes experience, and you, the voter, will decide the type of individual that you want to represent you, not just here in the city, but across the state and many other commissions. People need to be able to understand finances and everything else. So it's up to you, voters. Thank you.
They clapped because he stood up.
Okay, let's finish this. Mr. Martinez, sir, go ahead.
My name is Juan Martinez. I love this city, I love the community members, and I've been fighting for our water, our environment, our fiscal responsibility, and addressing the corruption that affects our city council and our entire infrastructure. I'm already a delegate for the 64th district, so I already represent you. I've been fighting for you for years. And I've been telling you tonight, there's a lot of things that you missed out on because our council wasn't transparent with you. They didn't tell you about your water. They didn't tell you about the staff members that were let go because of malpractice and malfeasance. They didn't tell you about the misappropriation of the monies. They didn't tell you because they looked out for their investors, for their donors first, and they put you behind second. I'm here to fight for you. Check my donations. No, I'm not taking corporate money. I'm not taking any lobbyist money. I've been fighting for this community because I care, and I want to provide a voice to the voiceless. Vote for me. It's time for a change. It's time for a revolution.
Thank you, sir.
Downey needs to be strong with a new change. Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Felix.
My name is Dr. Anthony Felix, and I will say this. I interview candidates all the time for employment with the governing agency. And I don't look at their ties to community. I don't look at their upbringings. What I look at is their experience in my decision making to hire someone. What I look at is their skills, knowledge, abilities, and subject matter expertise to perform in the function that they have been hired to do. I need to have confidence in them that they will get the job done accordingly with the desired outcomes. With that said, I walk the district to try to gain support through voters, from our voters in District 2. It is like I'm going through an interview process with them where one, they get to know me, and two, they get to assess my abilities in performing in the as a council member. So I asked the residents of District 2, specifically the voters of District 2, to put someone in office that has the subject matter expertise, the skills to hit the ground running. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello again, everyone. My name is Art Montoya, and I'm honored to be your candidate for District 2. Again, if elected as your candidate, I will ensure public safety, ensure that our streets remain clean and safe. I'll be an environmental champion, and I will ensure that we push for economic progress. But not only that, I plan to bring stability and civility back to City Hall. I'm not here to choose sides. I'm here to work with everyone. And Downey residents, I assure you, if there's a problem that we're facing, we're going to face it together, and we're going to find a solution together. Thank you, and I humbly ask for your vote on November 8th.
Again, my name is Hector Sosa. Thank you all for being here. I think it's important for all our residents to be engaged, to be well informed on who the candidates are. I can tell you that I'm proud to be a candidate for District 2. My wife and I, we both grew up here. We both attended Warren High. Downey's been very good to us. I've been serving the community. I think service to the community and community engagement is very important because it shows your character and how much you care about the community. My wife and I, the city of Downey has been very good to our family. We got married, we met at Warren High. We rented an apartment to start off. We were able to live the American dream and buy a home here in Downey. So I think it's really important to look at our resumes and elect truly vested individuals who care about this community. I'm not a politician, I'm someone who cares about Downey. My proven track record of service to this community speaks for itself. And with that said, we need stability back, we need full transparency, and we need ethics at the city council level, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you for your support.
I want to thank all of you for being here tonight, okay? So our city won tonight. I think you all saw that. We got an opportunity to hear what the candidate positions are, what they're all about, and I can't thank you enough for being here. So why don't we give them all a round of applause? You know, I came from a communist country, so to be able to have this opportunity to listen to candidates actually running for office and going to have a fair election out there is very important. So a lot of people went behind the scenes here. Our spotter, our timer, so for an hour and a half, she sat there holding cards and doing that. Physically, I thought that was great, but number two, mentally, Julie Ledesma. So thank you, Julie, for I think all our candidates, I hope you guys can appreciate that we were as fair as can be. We tried to make sure that the questions were fair to everybody. I want to thank Jennifer DeKay, the editor of the Downey Patriot. Excuse me, the owner of the publisher. Michael Talbot, the executive director for the Downey Chamber of Commerce. So, I think you guys have seen it. Okay, Eric and I have a podcast. We don't always agree, okay, which always makes it kind of fun, but thank you to Mr. Eric Pearson, the editor of the Downey Patriot. Thank you for being here. I think our community had a great night tonight. You know, we all have that aerospace and history where we all know what's happened here in the city of Downey, where we put somebody on the moon. And we all know the first word spoken on the moon, right? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. So I'm going to end it with the last word spoken on the moon by Commander Gene Cerna, Apollo 17 in 1972. The last 10 words was Commander Gene Cerna said, on there, we leave as we came, God willing, we shall return. So with that, good night, folks. Thank you for being here.